are still in the process of thinking, can I get it paid for or not? Because truly, gastric bypass surgery was something that you did because you wanted to lose weight and that was it. It was cosmetic. But now it's considered that it's curative. Now you do know there are people that eat back up to their other weight because you see it. The vast majority of people do not, so that's the good thing. But they also know that just by losing weight, it's going to better increase your ability to utilize insulin better. So it's going to decrease your blood sugar over time. So that's the thing that they're seeing. Body mass indexes, those things are going to help actually decrease your insulin demands. So that's something that you see in patients. But it's now considered curative. So that means that insurance companies will pay for it, which is a nice thing. Because if you had to try to figure out how you're going to pay for that, there's a lot of patients that might want to do surgery who didn't because of that reason. So that's the nice thing about that part of it. Now, when you have patients who have diabetes, one of the things that you, of course, know is this person will have a high blood sugar. Because that's what it is. Blood sugar is high, fasting 126 or greater, glucose tolerance test. Anytime you have they do it in the 2-hour testing. If your blood sugar is greater than 200, and they do a carb load. They tell you how much they give you, 20-gram carb load. But the major thing also that you see sometimes with these people is a random glucose at any time greater than 200. Remember I told you your sugar should never go greater than 200? That's because your pancreas is always going to respond to what you're eating. So if you see a random glucose greater than 200, that's considered diagnostic for diabetes as well. So that means I don't have to be fasting. I could have just eaten. And you're going to see a rise in your blood sugar if you are one of those people that want to see how it works. And you eat something, your blood sugar is going to go up truly when you eat something, but it should never go greater than 200. That's the point, is that your body's going to say, hey, you ate this, your pancreas is going to release the insulin, going to keep your blood sugar close to normal. That's what you're doing. What we saw especially when we start treating patients with intensive therapy, is that you have patients who are sometimes, we have patients complaining about getting stuck 4 times a day in the hospital. Intensive therapy patients may stick their fingers 10 times a day. That's a person who's going to be on top of everything. You got to have somebody that wants to do it. But one of the things that they saw is that, and this all came out of a study that, and our USF was actually part of this study. They had 10 sites within the country that looked at if you kept a person's blood sugar as close to normal as possible, would you prevent things from happening? All of the apathies that you know about, right? So that's the retinopathy, nephropathy, neuropathy, all the things that happen associated with diabetics. Because that's the big piece. Diabetes is a multi-system disease. Patients have to treat it on multi-levels. It's not just medication. It's going to be diet. It's going to be exercise. It's going to be changing your lifestyle habits. So it's never going to be just one thing you teach a patient. It has to be all of those things. But what they found out is if you actually kept a person's blood sugar as close to normal as possible, that you prevented those apathies from happening. It was supposed to be a 10-year study. And the results came out in less than 2 years. They could see that that was what we needed to do. And that's one of the reasons why you now have people get coverage at 70. You know how nurses freak out about it, especially the old ones. Can you get that patient this coverage? Well, let them eat first. The point is to keep their blood sugar as close to normal as possible. If they eat, their body doesn't release the insulin. What you're doing is giving it to them so that when they eat, they're still going to stay this way. Instead of going way up here, now you give them coverage and they may not make it back down to baseline. That is the point. But you have some nurses that still freak out when you have to give coverage at 70. If food is sitting in front of the patient, they don't have a problem eating, that's why they get that coverage. And that's what you have to get people to think about. But a lot of old nurses freak out, right? They don't want to give it to them, or they'll tell you to go give the patient an orange juice with sugar in it, not just the orange juice, but they want you to put sugar in it on top of that. That defeats the purpose of what you're trying to do. But when you look at the numbers, if you ever want to go look at it, they do talk about it in your textbook. It's called the Diabetes Complication and Control Trials, or DCCT. But they showed the difference in less than 2 years. That's how profound it was in saying, because they monitored the patients closely, did diagnostic EMGs, all that kind of stuff to see whether or not they had feeling, circulation testing, and all that kind of stuff. And you saw the decrease in patients having problems in just a little over 2 years. So that meant that that's what is going to be our standard of care for patients. And if you notice when you're in the hospital, or if you're taking care of people, or your family members, the difference in a endocrinologist managing diabetes is so different from a regular general internal medicine person. Because there are some doctors that still think you only get covered at 200. And you're looking at them like, what's wrong? The nice thing about it is most hospitals have gone to a low dose, medium dose, high dose coverage, so doctors don't get to make that decision anymore. It's protocol in the hospital. Otherwise, you would still have doctors who do not give coverage until a patient is over 200. That defeats that. You're still too high at 200. Why are you waiting and keeping that person that high all the time? So those are things you never want to see happen in life for patients. But one of the things that also happens on this side, this person has DKA. This person may present with what we call HHNS. It's hyperosmolar.
That's for the type 1, you said? That's
Hyperglycemic. What? Non-ketotic syndrome. It used to be called a coma. Way back when. You know how things change. It's like syndrome X is now metabolic syndrome. HHNS used to be hyperosmolar, hyperglycemic, non-ketotic coma. But now it's a syndrome. But you'll see that happen in type 2 patients. Blood sugar is really high, because remember, both of these people, usually when they present to the hospital for the first time, that's what you're going to see, blood sugar is really high. Or they come to the office. You know, they come to if you're going to a doctor's office, they come in and the patient gives you these, I'm having these symptoms, I'm eating a lot, I'm urinating a lot, doctor does a finger stick in the office and it registers HHH. That means it's over 500. When you're talking, when it's too high to read, that usually means I'm sending you to the hospital from the doctor's office. I don't let a patient go home like that. So that's somebody who's going to the hospital for admission. Okay. Sometimes they'll write orders. Sometimes they'll say, just take them over there. You can call me once they do stuff for them. All right. But when you have I didn't put this one here, DKA or diabetic ketoacidosis or HHNS is something that they usually present with the first time they ever come in. Type 1s on the DKA side, type 2s have HHNS. And when you look at the name, it's hyperosmolar, it tells you they're really dehydrated because blood sugar is really high. Because remember, I told you it's an osmotic diuretic, so sugar gets higher. The more pee comes out, the higher the sugar is going. So they're more concentrated. So that's why it's hyperosmolar. Hyperglycemic, because you know sugar's high. Patients who have HHNS can have sugars 1,200, 1,500. Crazy. If you sitting there going like, how's this person alive kind of stuff. Non-ketotic because they produce just enough insulin not to go into ketosis. So that's why it happens in type 2s. Type 1s are your DKA patients. That's kind of stuff to remember for your life as a nurse, not just for testing. But type 1 is going to be your DKA person. Mismatch between insulin and food. Because DKA usually happens either the first time they're admitted to the hospital or it happens on sick days. Because they can't take insulin. I don't feel good. Stress makes your blood sugar go higher. Releases more cortisol. That's what's happening. Your body has a stressor, that's what's happening. All right, so that's what's going on with you, but your sugar's getting higher. But you still didn't take any insulin because you felt bad. You're throwing up, this kind of stuff. So that's what's going on when you have a person who has DKA. HHNS is usually an older person, may have been some, especially patients who have strokes. Because there's always something that happens with the thirst center in their brain for a lot of them, and they don't even want to drink. So that makes it even worse. Sugar's going higher, and you don't even want to drink. So sugar is going to get continually higher. Osmotic diuresis, you're getting rid of fluid, but that polydipsia piece is missing. So they produce just enough insulin so they don't have ketosis. Or you may have a rare ketone. But it's not going to be like you see in a person who has DKA. So both of these are things I have to treat because it's a kill code. It's the kill people thing. All right, so I got to take care of those things with this person. Both sides are going to need insulin. I will tell you that. Both sides will need insulin because you got to lower the blood sugar, correct? So that's going to be for everybody. And one of those things you got to think about when you have a person who's newly diagnosed and I start giving you insulin, they are going to feel hypoglycemic if their blood sugar is even 400. If you've been 6, 7 all the time, 400 is going to feel like you're hypoglycemic. Any test question means that you're going to test the person's blood sugar first. You don't treat it until you know what it is. Because that's what that gets into. I got a person whose blood sugar is high, now all of a sudden they're getting lower, and lower could be normal, but to them it feels like they're hypoglycemic because they've been running 500, 600 all the time. You know how you feel when you need to eat. Now you really are hypoglycemic. That patient feels they've been going all the time doing their thing, and all of a sudden now you're getting their blood sugar close to normal. They feel like, oh my God, what's going on? So always remember, in those types of things you have to assess. Always, those things you kind of look at that. So I got to turn this around in my patient. Okay. Now these are the treatment of DKA and HH&S you talk about more in NP4. I will tell you because that's some of the things that we talk about. But just I put them up there because there are going to be things that sometimes bring the patient in for the first time. So even if the question is asking you that, you know, the person asks HH&S, Sandra said we don't have a test question on this. And I was really asking you, maybe you got that condition because you're talking about a type 2. They may be asking you, where's your teaching going to focus? See what I'm saying? It's going to be those kinds of things, but it's not asking you about the pathology or what's happening with that. Where's your teaching going to focus on this particular person? This is the person I need to hydrate. They're going to need insulin, but hydration is their big thing. This person needs insulin, but they also have fluid and electrolyte imbalance. Because when you read this in the textbook, it's going to tell you IV fluids are #1 thing. IV fluid is really #1 thing for this person. And we give them either isotonic, but the best thing to do is a hypotonic solution. Because remember, if I move stuff around, I can move it faster that way. So I may give them half normal saline instead of normal saline. Okay. Person who is on this side, I need to give them insulin because that's what their major problem is. So yes, I'm going to give them insulin, but a lot of times, remember that ketoacidosis, ketosis or acidosis, when you're forgetting in the body, usually produces electrolytes imbalances with potassium. You might have seen a question on that today about somebody's potassium is 2.9, who's throwing up. What do you do for them? All right, so because that's just it. That's one of the things that you sometimes see associated with that. So just know that yes, I'm going to give insulin on both sides. I'm going to give fluids on both sides. Fluid real important on the other side. Insulin real important on this side. And the main reason is because I need to make sure this person gets their, give them enough insulin so I can stop that ketosis piece that goes along with that. Not that it's not important to correct electrolyte imbalances on both sides, but if I don't stop the ketosis, I'm going to have real problems trying to get their acid-base balance okay. So with this person, we got to give them insulin. They usually see them on an insulin drip. So they're giving it all the time. You're using a glucomander. You're doing blood sugars every hour. You're adjusting their dosages based on what's going on with the patient. But people still die from this, and that's the bad part. Because they're not dying at home. They're dying in the hospital because people aren't recognizing their people going into this. So blood sugars, 400, 500, 600, 700. You can have 1200 on this side too. But one of the things that's kind of deceiving is that a lot of people think that a person who has DKA has to have a really high blood sugar, and they don't. That's why people end up dying from it. Yes, most of the people have 400 or 500s, but it all depends on the renal threshold for the person who has it. So you can have some people in DKA with 300. You just have to watch the patient. So that's the deceiving piece about that. Most people think that sugar has to be 700, 800. It does not. Always look at what's going on with your patient. What symptoms are they having? What are they doing? Because that's what's going to lead you to what you need to do as far as their treatment goes. Now for them, and what thing you do have to know for your testing purposes is that yes, we give this person insulin, because type 1s are always need insulin, right? So you will see them, you need to know what your peak times of your insulins are. Because you got to figure out when you got to worry about hypoglycemia for these patients. Okay. So we know that Lispro is the fastest acting insulin, onset in about 15 minutes, 15 to 20 minutes for your patient. Peaks in about 1 to 3 hours. So you got to think about when that person's going to peak, because that's when you might get a question about, well, I got to worry about this. Really high blood sugar in a patient, give your insulin in the abdomen. Fast absorption. Arm is second. Okay, so those are things you got to think about. If you're having a question about, I want this patient to get the best result, where am I going to give my insulin? All right. when you have your regular insulin, and if you are, y'all go to St. Joe's. Tampa General doesn't use regular insulin at all anymore. They only use Lispro and other mixed types of insulin. Mainly because regular insulin has an onset about 45 minutes, peaks in about 3 to 4 hours. What they found is you get better glycemic control with the one that mimics your body the most, and that's going to be the Lispro. And so that's why they don't use it anymore. They did a research study in the hospital, had all this kind of stuff. So your NPH is your longer acting or your intermediate insulin. That's the cloudy one. So you give that to a patient. Your onset is about 4 to 5 hours, peaks in about 6 to 8. That's part of the reason why you give it before breakfast and before dinner. Okay, so you get that overall coverage for your patient. Then you have Lantus or Levemir, which are clear insulins, but they're long-acting insulin. They also cannot be mixed with anything else. And how you remember that is if when you're in the hospital or someplace that you're working, Levemir bottles are tall and skinny. All your other insulin bottles are what I call short and squat. Tall and thin, because the bottle is a little bit narrower when you look at it, it's a little bit taller. Those insulin you can't mix with anything, even though they're clear, because that's what you're thinking. They're clear insulins, I can mix them with things, but they do not go with anything else. So look at your insulins, because those are things you got to know. All right. There are 14 different classes now approved as oral agents for patients. So you're like, oh Jesus, Ms. Henderson, I have to know all of them. No. That's the next thing I have to know. 14? No. You don't have to know all of them. You have to know the common ones that we use. So sulfonylureas, which is the oldie but goodie, is going to be common that you have with patients. So it is probably the drug that's used most often when we talk about type 2 diabetics. All right. So that you need to know. Sulfonylureas actually stimulate the beta cells of the pancreas to produce more insulin. So they can cause hypoglycemia. They are also micronized to deliver drug over time. So that's why you don't crush them. Although we know everybody does. And then you wonder why your patient's hypoglycemic. Duh. It's that you got rid of that acting over time thing when you crush the pill. All right, so sulfonylureas you need to know. So some of the, think about those common ones you give, diabeta, glyburide, those types of things. Then you have your insulin sensitizers. So those are things that actually help what you produce work better. And there are several classes in this group. And biguanidines is one, which are now falling out of favor, because that's metformin. Okay. That's one of those, or glucophage. That was one that we've been using for a long time, but we're finding out it's actually more problematic. And that's what always happens. Drugs are approved, you use it, treat patients for years, and then find out, oh Lord, we're killing folks. That's what usually happens. It's craziness. Because there's also a thing now going on, which I'm losing my mind right now. Okay, because I'm crazy anyhow. But one of the things they're talking about is there's a correlation with using statin drugs and developing diabetes. So you're treating your cholesterol issue so you don't want to have a heart attack and die. But now you're going to end up with diabetes on the other side. Really? So now I got to look at the studies, because then it makes you wonder, because I'm CSI in my brain. Okay. I'm thinking, oh, is it really that? Or is it because you're giving it to patients who have this? So where are they going to get diabetes in? So but when they come out with stuff, they never tell people that, and everybody panics. Can't take this anymore, I'm going to die. That's what people do. The average person will not go and say, well, let me look what the research study says. They just won't stop taking their medicines. That's the bad part. Because then you find out later that, oh, it wasn't that. Because that was a big thing about hormone replacement therapy. How estrogen was going to kill all of us. I'm like, I want it. Give it to me. Kind of thing. But they only did it on people who had hysterectomies. They don't tell you that when they give you the study. They just say, we only did it on people. They don't say that until somebody says, what do you mean? That's only on people that took estrogen. It was not on people that took things like Prempro, which gives you the opposing hormone because you still have a uterus. But everybody takes research and puts it just on that one thing. So as you go on to school, you're going to have to read about that stuff. I know y'all look at me like, research. There's a reason behind why we do things and why things change, and that's what it comes down to. And one of the things I will tell you for your life, if you go to school, Always look at the p-value first before you read anything. The p-value is, you know how you make a bell curve? The p-value is the 10% that's sitting on the 5 over here, the 5 on this side. If it's greater than 0.05, the study is not reliable. So when your teacher reads your paper, that's what the first thing they're going to ask you. Put that in your literature, and they're going to go like, what are you doing? Why did you put this in here? It's not a reliable source. And you want to go, why are you smoking? It supported my subject. That's why I used it. But that's what they look for. So anything with a p-value greater than 0.05, don't even read it. It's not reliable. Because that's how the bell curve goes. Everything sits in those 3 standard deviations from the middle. That's how they look at it. That's the stats class you got to take to get out of nursing school. All right. It's coming, because I know everybody here is going to go back to school. I don't care what you say now. You're going to say, I'm never going back again. Yeah, that's what I kept saying too. All right. So with these patients, you want to make sure, we're talking about mids. So insulin sensitizers. So biguidines are the one that we use for years and years. That's metformin, the glucophage. And I can never say the diazones. It's a long name.
Which one?
I don't know which one it is. No, I can't say the long word. It's THAIDI something. But it's insulin sensitizer too. Now the thing about it is we had a wonderful drug. When I was doing my nurse practitioner clinicals, we were using this drug called Resveratrol for patients that had this. Now this is a medication that has now been discontinued use in the United States. Everywhere else it's still being used in the world. No problems. Because doctors didn't monitor patients like they were supposed to. We had patients who sometimes were taking 90 units of insulin in the morning, 90, that's somebody who you can't control. Blood sugar still high. We put them on Resveratrol, patients did fine. Some patients went off insulin, period, because it was such a great insulin sensitizer. But we had said there were some issues that you had to do is making sure you're monitoring the patient before you put them on the medication, that kind of stuff, and people weren't doing that. They were just seeing what the results were, because you had patients, I'm telling you, would take max dose of insulin. You don't even know how they could get up and walk around with that much insulin, and their blood sugar is still high. But we would see them actually go off meds. That's how good it was. But then, of course, you had people that weren't doing what they were supposed to do, and now you can't get it. We have some patients that travel out of the country to get it. That's how good it works for them. So it's all kinds of things that you actually use it. But those are probably the 2 drugs, the insulin sensitizers and sulfonylureas are the drugs that are used most often. When you don't get the result that you want, then you start adding other things. Those things that interfere with carbohydrate metabolism. Patients don't really like those because they usually cause diarrhea, uncontrollable kind of diarrhea. So if a person is sitting there going, oh my gosh, no, I can't pass gas because I'm going to be incontinent, that kind of thing. That's how bad it can be for patients. That's the, those are some of the medications now that they actually use for weight loss. You know, I can't remember the name of the drug. Oh, I can see the commercial on TV right now. But it was one of those that was approved for weight loss, but what it does is interfere with carbohydrate metabolism. So when you take them, it sits in your stomach and doesn't allow you, it has selective uptake of carbohydrates. So one of the things that's a side effect of it is incontinence. So nobody wants to be wearing a diaper. So that's why it doesn't do very well. Some of the other things that you're going to see, because you see the commercials on TV now about medication that you can take once a week, some of the augmenting kind of agents. Those things are new now and will probably be standard practice as we go along in treatment of diabetics. But right now it's very expensive. And they will be medications that patients go on after they fail other things. Yes, they work great, because they really do. Viada was probably one of the first ones that he used that way. It's in an insulin pen type apparatus. Some doctors were using, because one of the side effects of it is weight loss. So doctors were using it in weight loss clinics. And then you had people that developed endocrine neoplasia. It's always something. People think that's the fast fix. But everybody knows you just got to get up and move. I mean, that's what ends up coming down to it, with those types of things. So those are the major categories: your insulin, sulfonylureas, insulin sensitizers. The other things people go on after they fail on those types of drugs. The other piece of diabetes management, of course, is going to be patient teaching. So education is going to focus around making sure they understand about diet, no concentrated sweets, carbohydrates, that kind of thing. I mean, and you limit your simple carbohydrate intake. That's the one thing that people, we all get all focused on what this diet does and that kind of thing. Carbohydrates are not inherently bad. It's just the type you take in is the issue. If you're taking in refined white sugars, that kind of thing, that's the problem. Or if you're doing whole wheat, those types of things. But it truly is an acquired taste. What wheat pancakes are just not right. I tried. I thought I was going to die. It was like eating trash. That's what I was like. I said, I want one that's